And with that, the 2024 preseason comes to an end. The Vancouver Canucks have just played the best game of the preseason so far. What am I saying? So far, it's over. Yeah, there are no more preseason games after this. Of course, they had to go out with a bang as they defeat the Edmonton Oilers 4-1. Now, a 4-1 Vancouver win in the preseason against Edmonton, that doesn't sound like a big deal. Doesn't sound like something that we should be talking about with such joy and admiration, but not. This was a great game, a really, really good game, and I know the stats don't matter. Everybody is going to get reset back to zero, and in 2, 3, 4 months, no one's going to care about this preseason game. But you know what this game does? It sets the tone for the Vancouver Canucks heading into the regular season, starting out with such a good footnote. Not necessarily because they can beat the McDavid and Draisaitl-led Oilers 4-1, but because the guys that we saw show up in this game and what we saw out of them. Might I dare say that this team is looking fantastic. Heading into today's game, we had a few lineup switcheroos that kind of got people interested in what was going to go on because, for one, of course, no Dakota Joshua. Not great. No Pius Suter, not great. And last second, Connor Garland was a scratch for this game, so he didn't suit up either. Instead of those three guys, the Canucks iced Nils Åman, Aatu Räty, and Arshdeep Bains. We can talk about more of those guys as the video goes on, but with this lineup, the Vancouver Canucks did have probably their best preseason showcase this whole season. The game starts out with 2 Oilers power plays, early penalties that the Vancouver Canucks end up taking, and the Canucks end up killing them off. Great, they were actually perfect on the penalty kill today, the Vancouver Canucks were. And early on in the first period, we did start to see some chemistry, a lot of these guys going out there and making offense happen. DeBrusk, Petey, and Sprong, they had some really good moments to open up the game. But the first goal for Vancouver comes on a beautiful shot by one Quinn Hughes. He's the captain for a reason. His apartment is just across the rink. We saw that in the Amazon documentary earlier yesterday. He winds up on a huge clap bomb slap shot, and it goes right in. Tipped by Bluger, tipped by Hyman. Who really knows? Who really cares? It's a 1-0 Vancouver lead off of a classic clap bomb from Vancouver's captain. The game, though, continues right away as Brock Boeser has a beautiful shot off the post. This one doesn't go, but it looks kind of like classic rookie Boeser, eh? Maybe we see more of that this season. However, it then quickly becomes 2-0 as that Jake DeBrusk and Pettersson duo gets to work. DeBrusk, he has a lot of contention around him as he's bringing the puck into the Oilers zone. Rather than dumping it in, DeBrusk holds onto the puck while gliding down the right wing. He waits, he stops, he throws it back to Petey. At this point, the Oilers are all swarming around DeBrusk and Petey, and then Petey with a beautiful backhand sauce right into the middle finds Carson Soucy all alone in the slot. He shoots, he scores. It's 2-0 Vancouver. At the start of the second period, the Canucks on the power play, they had some movement, they had some chances. Admittedly, it wasn't the best, but we'll get into that more as the video goes on. The second unit, however, does come out, and this is where we see a little bit more of the versatility of the second unit guys. They're a lot speedier than the first unit strategy, and they're a lot more no-nonsense compared to the first unit. This is where the second unit goes to work. Hronek plays it over to the left side. It's played down low. Höglander over to Heinen, out in front, across for Arshdeep Bains on the one-timer. He makes it 3-0. Beautiful play. Literally every power play guy touched that. Hronek to Sprong to Höglander to Heinen to Bains, all within the span of like 7 seconds or so. It's 3-0 Vancouver, and they have the Oilers by the ropes. This is where Darnell Nurse tries to change things in his team's favor. He absolutely destroys Kiefer Sherwood on a big, bold hit, and Derek Forbort comes in and fights the guy immediately after. It blows the play dead and actually stops a Canucks 2-on-1 opportunity. The Canucks had a power play on this moment, but immediately after it becomes a 4-on-4 as Brock Boeser takes a holding penalty. As the 4-on-4 starts, the Oilers win the draw. It's played back to Bouchard, who walks right in. He shoots. He scores. he had too much space, plain and simple. The Canucks had a miscommunication on their man-to-man coverage on the 4-on-4, and that resulted in Bouchard getting the wide-open lane. 3-1 in the game, and it stays like that until the very end. The Canucks actually then took another penalty. After the 4-on-4 expired, Quinn Hughes took a penalty on McDavid, so it was 5-on-3 for the Oilers. They cannot score, however. The Canucks' penalty kill, as we had said, flawless in this game. In the third period, there are no goals until Jake DeBrusk gets the empty net, so those are all of the 5 goals we had seen today. Now, let's get into some of the stories about this game here. Miller, he ended up playing today, and quite frankly, he was not great. He was working, he was active with his stick, he was playing well defensively, I noticed, but when he had the puck, man, some of the passes that he tried to do, some of the shot selections that he made, there was a giveaway that he had right at the end of the first period that was absolutely nauseating. Played it tape to tape to the Oilers guy right in front of Silovs, and Miller, look, he's going to have to work those kinks out. He hasn't played at all this preseason, so I guess if there's any game to go out there and start playing and making those mistakes, it's got to be the last game of the preseason, right? So at the very least, there's hope that he's going to get better than that. Speaking of the guy who had to bail Miller out a few times, Arturs Silovs was fantastic. Oh my goodness, this might have been maybe the most confident I have felt in Arturs Silovs, and that's coming out of somebody who watched him shut out the Nashville Predators in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. He was great in this game against the Edmonton Oilers. Now, I don't want to make it seem like McDavid and Draisaitl were playing their best, per se, but they did have some chances, they did have some rushes. Draisaitl had a really nice pass in front to McDavid that was deflected on goal that Silovs had to stop up, and then there were some other really good opportunities, cross creases, and attempts in front that he had to thwart away. Let's talk about the new line, the up top line, the Petey, DeBrusk, and Sprong line, because they played very well together today, and I think heading into the next few weeks here, if they start to get their groove on, I would not be surprised if Jake DeBrusk is right up there near the top of Canucks point scoring with Elias Pettersson. They had 2 points today in this game, and they just looked so natural and so calm and collected. They play off of each other so well. DeBrusk drives the net. Petey makes beautiful passes. There's so much to like out of this line here, and Daniel Sprong being the sniper alongside of them all, hey, it's the cherry on top. Meanwhile, let's talk about the other guys here that made their final attempts at making the Canucks team. I think a lot of people weren't really expecting Nils Åman, Aatu, nor Arshdeep Bains to be a part of the final preseason games lineup because you would expect Suter, Garland, and Joshua to all be there. Now, to be fair, when those guys come back, I think it's pretty reasonable to say that they're going to play, and Arshdeep Bains, Ratu, nor Nils Åman will get their chance. But in this game, Arshdeep Bains was really good. He was so noticeable, his impact on the boards, his puck battles. He won pretty much every puck battle that he had today. And a lot of them were against Vasily Podkolzin whilst penalty killing, which was really interesting to note, but he was really good at facilitating play. He was getting himself to the right areas. He made that goal happen by being the trigger man on the power play. Arshdeep had a great game today. Ratu, unfortunately, he was on his last legs on being able to make the team. He just needed one big push. This game was not it. This might have been the worst game that Ratu played in the preseason because of the 2 mistakes that he made that were really obvious. First, there was the face-off loss that he had against the Oilers, which directly led to the Bouchard goal. Look, as the center, when you lose the draw, you got to go to where that puck is going. Your first check is the guy who's got the puck, and in most cases, it's going to be one of those defensemen who has it behind. And Ratu, unfortunately, did not charge Bouchard right away after losing the draw. He went off to the side, which allowed Bouchard just a runway-sized lane to walk right in, shoot, and score. And then in the third period, Nils Höglander had a beautiful play where he toe-dragged on the rush around his check and then centered it out in front to Ratu, who ended up whiffing on the shot and shooting it way wide. These are 2 mistakes that I think are going to bite Ratu in the behind. It was already going to be super tight for the players to make this team, and you can't have mistakes like that. Arshdeep Bains, he played well, but he did have one mistake that led to the Canucks getting a too-many-men penalty, and he ended up serving it. Rick Tocchet was very upset about that. So we'll see what happens with these guys as the actual season comes and goes, but for now, this game against Edmonton, a 4-1 Vancouver victory, that was awesome. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Canucks playing the best preseason game of the preseason and finishing things off with a bang. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.